If you were born between 1957 and 1977, you've felt it your entire life, haven't you? That sense of not quite fitting, of seeing through systems others accept, of knowing there's something fundamentally wrong with normal, of carrying a mission you can't quite name but can't escape. You're not crazy, you're not broken, you're not failing at life. You're spiritually chosen for a task so specific, so necessary, so revolutionary that Edgar Cayce saw you coming and wept at the burden you would carry. You are the generation of the Great Awakening, not the ones who started it. That was your parents. Not the ones who will complete it. That's your children. You're the ones who must hold the door open while humanity passes through the most dangerous transition in its history. Born into the shadow of potential nuclear annihilation, raised in the breakdown of every institution, coming of age as technology exploded beyond wisdom. You're the generation that had to become spiritually bulletproof because you would be shot at from all directions. Old paradigm, new paradigm, and the chaos in between. Cayce called you the translators, the ones who would have to speak every language, material and spiritual, ancient and modern, human and cosmic. The ones who would have to hold paradox without breaking, navigate between worlds without losing themselves, transform reality without anyone noticing you're doing it. You're not the spotlight generation. You're the roadies of consciousness evolution, setting up the stage, managing the transitions, making sure the show goes on while getting none of the credit. And that invisibility? That's not neglect. That's your superpower. Because the most profound transformations happen in shadow, and you, the 1957-1977 generation, are the shadow workers of the Great Shift. The Indigo Wave. Edgar Cayce didn't use the term indigo children. That came later, but he described exactly what would arrive between 1957 and 1977. Souls with activated third eyes from birth, natural psychics who would hide their gifts, system seers who could spot lies instantly. They will come with their spiritual eyes already open, Cayce revealed. But the world will try to close them. These souls will suffer greatly as children, not from abuse, but from the pain of seeing truth in a world built on illusion. You knew Santa wasn't real before anyone told you. You knew adults were lying even when they smiled. You knew the system was broken before you could articulate why. You didn't learn disillusionment. You were born disillusioned, which is actually illumination. This is why childhood was so hard for your generation. You were spiritual adults in children's bodies, ancient souls pretending to be young, wisdom holders forced to sit through lessons teaching you lies. How many of you were labeled difficult, oversensitive, too intense? How many were medicated for seeing what others couldn't, feeling what others wouldn't, knowing what others denied? You weren't broken children. You were awakened souls in a sleeping world, and the dissonance nearly destroyed many of you. But it didn't. Because destruction wasn't your fate. Transformation was. The starseed activation. Here's something that will resonate in your bones. Cayce revealed that the 1957-1977 generation contains the highest percentage of what he called off-world souls, consciousness that had experienced lives in other star systems, other dimensions, other realities. They are cosmic citizens incarnating as humans, he explained. They carry galactic memory, universal perspective, multidimensional awareness. Earth feels foreign to them because they remember home as somewhere else entirely. This is why you've always felt like an alien, why human behavior baffles you, why you look at the sky with homesickness, why you've always known there's life elsewhere, not believed, known. You didn't come here from here. You came here from elsewhere to help here become more like elsewhere. You're not just bridging generations, you're bridging worlds, dimensions, entire cosmic neighborhoods. The physical symptoms many of you have struggled with, environmental sensitivities, autoimmune conditions, chronic fatigue. These aren't weaknesses. They're your cosmic bodies trying to adapt to Earth's density. You're literally allergic to the old paradigm because you're calibrated for the new one. One woman born in 1967 told me she's dreamed of purple skies and crystalline cities since childhood. She thought she was crazy until she realized she was remembering. Not fantasizing, remembering where her soul had been before choosing this difficult Earth mission. The Karma Breakers. If there's one thing that defines the 1957-1977 generation, it's this. You break karma, not just your own, everyone's. They volunteered for the heaviest karma, Casey revealed, taking on family patterns, ancestral trauma, collective wounds. Not as punishment, but as alchemists. They can transmute karma others can't even carry. This is why your lives have been so hard. Why you've faced challenges that seem disproportionate. Why you've had to heal things that weren't even yours. Your karma processing units for humanity, taking in ancient poison and transmuting it to medicine. How many of you are the black sheep in your family? The one who broke the addiction pattern? The one who stopped the abuse cycle? The one who refused to repeat what had always been repeated? That wasn't rebellion, that was your mission. You came to break chains that had bound bloodlines for centuries, to heal wounds older than history, to end stories that seemed endless. But breaking karma hurts. It's like breaking bones to reset them properly. The pain your generation has endured, depression, anxiety, addiction, isolation, these aren't failures. They're the symptoms of processing humanity's accumulated trauma, your living digestive systems for collective poison. And the fact that you're still here, still functioning, still contributing, that's not despite your wounds. It's because you're strong enough to transform wounds into wisdom. Comment below if you recognize yourself as a karma breaker. Share what patterns you've ended, what cycles you've stopped. Your story might be exactly what another soul needs to understand their own mission. The bridge consciousness. You're not just a bridge generation. You are the bridge. Casey revealed something profound about your consciousness structure. They will be dual processors, able to hold multiple realities simultaneously. Where others see either or, they will see both and. They will be living paradoxes, walking contradictions that are actually unified fields. This is why you can never fully choose a side, why you see truth in opposing views, why you frustrate people who want you to be one thing or another. You're not indecisive, you're multidimensional. You can be spiritual and scientific, mystical and practical, ancient and modern. You don't fit in boxes because you're the space between boxes, the quantum field where all possibilities exist simultaneously. This bridge consciousness is exhausting. It's like being stretched between worlds, never fully in one or the other. But this stretching isn't breaking you. It's creating the span humanity needs to cross the chasm between old and new. Your consciousness is literally holding space for transformation. While others fight about what's true, you're holding the truth that multiple truths can coexist. While others choose sides, you're creating the unity that transcends sides. The silent revolution. Your generation doesn't protest in the streets like your parents did. You don't viral campaign like your children do. Your revolution is silent, invisible, quantum. Casey explained why. They will transform reality from within the quantum field. Their revolution will be consciousness itself. No banners, no slogans, just being at a frequency that dissolves old patterns. Your consciousness hackers, reality programmers, quantum infiltrators. You change things by changing the field in which things exist. Your presence alone shifts probabilities, collapses old timelines, opens new possibilities. This is why you often feel like you're not doing enough. In a world that measures impact by visible action, your invisible fieldwork seems like nothing, but you're doing the deepest work possible, changing reality at the code level. Every meditation you do ripples through the collective. Every trauma you heal clears it from the field. Every moment of presence you maintain holds space for others to awaken. You're not passive. You're working in dimensions most people don't know exist. The walk-in phenomenon. Something unprecedented happened with your generation, the highest number of what Casey called soul exchanges, or what others term walk-ins. Because the mission is so difficult, Casey explained, some souls will start the journey and others will complete it. Soul exchanges will happen, especially around the ages of 29 to 33 and 42-47, when original souls step out and specialized souls step in. How many of you have had a period where you became completely different? Where you look back and think, that wasn't even me? Where your entire personality, purpose, even appearance shifted dramatically? You might have experienced a soul exchange. The soul that started your life may have completed its portion and handed off to a soul specifically equipped for the next phase. This isn't possession, it's collaboration, a tag team approach to an impossible mission. This explains why so many of your generation have had multiple lives within one lifetime. Different careers, different personalities, different purposes in different decades. You're not inconsistent. You might literally be multiple souls taking turns in one body to accomplish what one soul couldn't do alone. The memory keepers. Your generation carries memories others have lost. Not just personal memories, collective memories, planetary memories, cosmic memories. They will remember what humanity has forgotten, Casey predicted. Ancient technologies, lost civilizations, star origins, divine blueprints. The memories will surface when needed, activated by current events that mirror past patterns. This is why you have such strong reactions to certain world events. Why some news triggers ancient grief. Why certain places make you weep without reason. You're not overreacting, you're remembering. When you see environmental destruction, you remember Lemuria drowning. When you see technological tyranny, you remember Atlantis falling. When you see spiritual suppression, you remember the Library of Alexandria burning. These memories aren't meant to paralyze you with grief, but to guide you with wisdom. You remember the mistakes so you can prevent repetition. You remember the solutions that worked and those that didn't. You're humanity's backup drive, carrying essential data for system restoration. The healers of the healers. Many of your generation became healers, but Casey revealed your deeper purpose. You're here to heal the healers, teach the teachers, guide the guides. They will develop new modalities that transcend all previous healing systems, he predicted. Not because old ways don't work, but because new wounds require new medicine. They will heal at the consciousness level, the quantum level, the soul level. Look at what your generation has created. Energy psychology, quantum healing, consciousness medicine. You've taken ancient wisdom and married it to modern understanding, creating hybrid modalities that work on multiple dimensions simultaneously. But more importantly, you're healing the healers themselves. The therapists, doctors, shamans, priests, they come to you when their own methods fail them. You're the specialists' specialists, the last resort that becomes the first solution. This is because you understand wounding at a level others don't. You've had to heal things that don't even have names, conditions that don't exist in medical books, traumas from other timelines. You've had to invent your own healing because nothing else worked. The timeline weavers. Your generation exists on multiple timelines simultaneously. Casey revealed this as your most unique ability. They can access parallel timelines, alternate realities, different probability streams. They will weave the best of all timelines into one optimal timeline for humanity's evolution. This is why you often feel like you're living multiple lives at once. Why you have memories of things that didn't quite happen that way. Why you sometimes know what's going to happen because you've already experienced it in another timeline. You're not just living one life. You're sampling from infinite versions of your life, choosing the best elements from each, weaving them into the timeline you're creating. Your timeline editors, reality sculptors, probability artists. When you make a choice, you're not just choosing for this timeline. You're collapsing multiple timelines into one optimal path. Your decisions ripple across dimensions, affecting versions of reality most people don't know exist. The frequency holders. In your 40s, 50s, and 60s now, your generation is reaching what Casey called the frequency stabilization phase. Their main work in the second half of life, he revealed, is simply to maintain a certain frequency. Not to do, but to be. They become tuning forks for the new paradigm, holding frequencies others can then match. This is why so many of you are feeling called to simplify, to retreat, to focus on being rather than doing. You're not giving up. You're stepping into your true role as frequency anchors for the new Earth. Your very presence at a certain consciousness level makes it easier for others to reach that level. You're like base stations for the new paradigm, broadcasting a signal that helps others find their way. This frequency holding is exhausting. It's like being a lighthouse in a storm. You must maintain your light no matter how hard the winds blow. But every soul you help navigate to safety makes it worthwhile. The invisible architects. Your generation is designing the new world, but invisibly. You're not the face of movements. You're the consciousness behind them. You're not the celebrated leaders. You're the ones who whisper wisdom to leaders. They will be invisible architects, Casey predicted. Working from shadow, influencing from behind scenes, designing structures others will build and claim credit for. This isn't injustice. It's strategy. You work best in shadow because shadow is where real power lives. Visible power corrupts, but invisible power transforms. You're not interested in glory, you're interested in effect. Every young leader who suddenly has a breakthrough idea, you might have planted it. Every movement that spontaneously emerges, you might have seeded it. Every shift that seems to come from nowhere, you've been preparing the field for years. This invisibility can be lonely, watching others receive credit for your ideas. Seeing movements you started attributed to others. But you understand, the mission matters more than the credit. The transformation matters more than the recognition. The great testing. Your generation has been tested more than any other. Not because you're being punished, but because you're being proven. Casey revealed they must be tested to destruction point to prove they're indestructible. Every system will try to break them: family, education, career, health, relationship. But they cannot be broken, only refined. Look at what you've survived. Broken families, failed systems, economic collapses, health crises, relationship devastation, mental health struggles, spiritual dark nights that lasted years. But you're still here, scarred but not broken, wounded but not defeated. You've proven you can survive anything, transform anything, alchemize any poison into medicine. This testing wasn't cruel. It was necessary. You had to become unbreakable because you would be holding space during humanity's most fragile transition. You had to become spiritually bulletproof because you would be standing in the crossfire between paradigms. The activation codes. Your generation carries specific activation codes for humanity's evolution. These codes are embedded in your DNA, your consciousness, your very presence. When you interact with others, these codes transfer, activate, initiate. They are living activation keys, Casey revealed. Their presence alone triggers awakening in others. A conversation, a glance, even proximity can activate dormant codes in souls ready to awaken. Have you noticed how people transform around you? How they suddenly have realizations, awakening experiences, life changes after encountering you? You're not just influencing them, you're activating them. These codes activate differently in different people. In some, you activate healing. In others, purpose. In others, remembering. You're walking permission slips for people to become who they really are. But carrying these codes is exhausting. It's like being radioactive with transformation. Everyone you touch changes, whether you intend it or not. This is why many of you have had to isolate, to control your exposure to others. You're not antisocial. You're managing your activation power. The final mission. As your generation moves through your 40s, 50s, and 60s, your true mission is clarifying. You're here to hold the field while humanity transforms. Not to force change, but to maintain the space in which change can occur. You're like surgical nurses, maintaining sterile fields for consciousness surgery. While others perform the operations, you ensure the environment remains stable, clean, optimal for healing. Your mission now. Hold frequency. Maintain the new paradigm frequency regardless of chaos around you. Anchor light. Be lighthouse stations in the storm of transformation. Process. Shadow. Continue transmuting collective trauma into wisdom. Bridge realities. Help others navigate between old and new paradigms. Activate souls. Transfer your activation codes to those ready to receive. Stabilize. Timeline. Weave the optimal timeline from all possibilities. Preserve wisdom. Maintain access to ancient knowledge for future use. The recognition. The world doesn't see you, celebrate you, or even know you exist as a collective force. But the universe does. Every soul you've activated knows, even if unconsciously. Every pattern you've broken reverberates through eternity. Every frequency you've held has prevented collapse. You are the unsung heroes of consciousness evolution, the invisible warriors of light, the shadow workers of transformation, the bridge generation that made transition possible. You didn't come for glory. You came for effect. You didn't come to be seen. You came to see others through. You didn't come to be saved. You came to be saviors, not in the religious sense, but in the practical sense of ensuring humanity's continuation and evolution. Your time is now. After decades of preparation, testing, refinement, your generation is entering your power years. Not power as the world defines it, but true power, the power to transform reality through presence alone. You're no longer seeking your purpose, you're living it. You're no longer healing your wounds, you're using them as medicine for others. You're no longer wondering why you're here, you're simply being what you came to be. The 1957-1977 generation, spiritually chosen, not for ease, but for capacity. Selected not for comfort, but for strength. Activated not for personal gain, but for collective evolution. Comment below if you recognize yourself in this description. Share your experiences of being a bridge, a translator, a frequency holder. Connect with others of your generation who are finally understanding why life has been so strange, so hard, so purposeful. Subscribe to explore more about your generation's unique mission. Hit the bell to stay connected with others walking this invisible path of visible transformation. You were chosen for this time, this mission, this impossibly important role in humanity's evolution. Not because you're special, but because you're strong enough to handle being the bridge across which humanity must pass. The bridge is built. You are the bridge. And humanity is crossing now, whether they know it or not, held stable by your invisible, indestructible, irreplaceable presence. Thank you for saying yes to this mission. Thank you for surviving the preparation. Thank you for being the bridge. Even if the world never knows your name, the universe knows your frequency. And that frequency is saving us all. Welcome to recognition. Welcome to activation. Welcome to the fulfillment of why you were spiritually chosen. The time of the bridge generation is now, and you're holding beautifully.